Hello and welcome to this week's vlog. I am Liselle Sambury. I'm a traditionally published author, and this vlog is going to be all about me editing the Newlyweds, which is an adult horror thriller that I'm working on. That is essentially like a home invasion with many twists. And you can check out my vlog from last week if you want, or not last week, from a little while ago over here if you want, where I talk about drafting the book. I did the first draft in 8 days, which is kind of bonkers and wild, but I did that. And so it's 40,000 words right now. Ideally, I want it to be somewhere closer to 60,000 words. So right now I'm going to be working on doing edits on it. So that's going to be my plan for the next 2 weeks. So for the next 10 days. And I want to have it completely self-edited by then so that I can send it off to beta readers and CPs so I can get some feedback and I can do another edit before I ultimately send it to my agent. So my plan is that this week is going to be all about plotting everything. It's going to be about figuring what needs to be fixed in the book, what needs to be added, because I think like a lot of words should be added, what needs to be put in basically to improve it, and like what that's already there needs to be improved to do this self-edit. So what I'm doing today is that I'm going to read the entire book all the way through, making no changes and just jotting down notes of what I would like to change. I also have a video over here if you want to know more about my self-editing process and how I self-edit books, if you're someone who also kind of wants to know how to do self-edits. And so that's the plan. So I'm halfway through right now. I got a bit of a late start today because I was just like tired. And so I started closer to 9:30 today instead of my 9 o'clock start that I usually do, but I finished reading half the book. It's short. It's like I put it in Microsoft Word. It's 164 pages, so it's very short, so it's quick to read. So I've read half of it by now, and at 1 o'clock after lunchtime, I'll read the other half and do my notes. And that's my entire focus today, is just reading it. And then I think tomorrow what I'm going to do is I'm going to start planning out subplots. Because for one, I think the subplots that I already have need to be made a lot more complicated, because they're not really, like, they're pretty simple right now, and I think they could be a lot more complex and dynamic and like way more interesting. And I also need to add subplots, because when you add subplots, you add words. And so I want to add 2 new subplots, because I know if I add those 2 new subplots that there will be more words and it'll get more dynamic, because that's the thing I'm really wanting to fix in this draft. Like, one of the twists I think is really good and really like dynamic, and then the others I think are not so much. And I want, during this home invasion thing, because they're doing all this like running away and getting caught and that sort of thing, I want a lot more mysteries and twists and things like that to be unfolding and to be developing as part of the horror element as well, because I think the thriller element I think is there because it's fast paced and there's like twists and that sort of thing. But I think with the horror element, I want more of a subplot that's going to create a lot more dread, and that sort of thing, and like dread that can be carried forward after the home invasion starts, because I think there's dread leading up to the home invasion, but then once it's going, I don't think there's as much hanging over them, and I really want more of that to be happening. So I got to think of 2 new subplots. And then, because subplots have to be weaved into the fabric of the whole story, I'm gonna have to do all these little things through the whole book to make those subplots fit, and also to make the subplots I already have more dynamic. And so that's gonna require a lot of thinking. So I'm gonna try and decide on them tomorrow, and then the rest of the week I'm basically just gonna have to figure out how I'm going to weave all of this into the story, figure out where I need to add new scenes, what I need to fix about the scenes I already have, how I can like bulk up the chapters and get that higher word count, so that in the next week I'm just going to be working on like banging out all of those revisions and doing all of those edits, which should also potentially mean writing like 20,000 words. which I have done when I originally did the draft. I wrote 25,000 words in a week. So I think it is doable to do all of that and do those edits. And so that's my plans. That's my goals for this week. And yeah, so far so good. Halfway through reading. Definitely can see things that need to be fixed. Like I said, it's very simple and I want it to be a lot more dynamic. So that's gonna be my big goal this week. Okay, I'm only gonna do this for like a few seconds just to show you this angle of me like walking at my new treadmill / stand-up desk, but I'm sure this motion will be terrible and this lighting is terrible, so hold on. There we go. That's much better, right? Lighting wise and everything wise. So yeah, I have a new desk set up that you would have just seen in the clip before this. I just kind of have been having difficulty in quarantine in that I really don't move that much. In the area where I live, there are bears. So I had wanted to like go out and like run in the morning or something like that. And it's just like, there are bears just wandering around and I didn't want to encounter one. And so then I was trying to like create time to like walk around and do things like that, and that wasn't really working out either. And then I just realized I spent like almost all of my day at my computer, or most of my day at my computer, and I thought, well, maybe I could get like a standing desk. And then I saw this TikTok of this woman with this under the desk treadmill, and she was just like walking on it while she did her work. And she was like, yeah, it's like a little bit uncomfortable at first, but then you get used to it. And she's like, I walk like so much every day because that time that I'm spending at my computer when I'm there, I'm now moving. And I was just like, oh my gosh, that's what I need to do. So I like did all this research into it, and I got the treadmill and the standing desk set up. I got those both from Amazon. And you can get like other things from there, like you need like to lubricate the treadmill thing, so you can get stuff from there for that. I got some insoles. I'm waiting for my boyfriend's insurance to kick in on me, and then I'm gonna get like honestly some like orthopedic sneakers. But yeah, so this is the system. It's great. I haven't really like used it at any like real length of time so far, so we'll see. I actually have been standing up all day because I was doing my hair, so I have actually been standing for the whole day. And then the second I was done with my hair, the package came in, and then I was building all of this. That's why if I look sweaty, that's why I'm sweaty, because it's super hot and we have no AC except for in the bedroom, where we have like a window air conditioner, but everywhere else is like super hot. So then I was like setting everything up, and that's why I'm sweaty. So I had to rearrange my office for this. The only sad thing is that like my dog's bed that I usually have under my desk, because she likes the little under the desk space, it doesn't fit there between like the two drawers that I have over here. I don't know if maybe I can like kind of turn my fabric bin, and then maybe I can sneak the other drawer on the other side, and then I can kind of make room for her. I'm gonna try and do that because she does like sitting there, and I love having her there. You know, it's her little spot in my office, so if I can kind of keep that for her, that'll be good. Yeah, so I've like put my chair in the corner. I don't really know what else to do with it. And I'm like low-key loath to put it in the living room. Well, for one, it's a wheelie chair, like it's clearly an office chair, but I like don't want it to get like dirty and stuff. So I just have it in the corner of my office. Maybe if I get rid of this bin of fabric I have here altogether, I could actually like put the chair in that spot, and then it could kind of be a reading spot. I don't know what I'm going to do with that space. I'm going to figure it out. But for right now, this is the setup as it is. And I'm happy to see how it's going to work out for me and like help kind of eliminate like such a sedentary lifestyle that I have, writing and just like being at my computer all the time. So that's it for all of that. And now about the writing. So I've been wildly unproductive. Yeah, so Monday I did what I needed to do. So I read the entire book through and I made notes. And then Tuesday I was like, okay, now we gotta like think of all these subplots. And so honest, I worked for half an hour and then I was like, nah. And then I just like did it. I started like watching YouTube videos and playing The Sims. I just like had no real drive. And this is where I struggle when I'm planning out revisions, because it's difficult for me to create a legitimate structure around getting that work done and like to give myself legitimate daily goals. And so then I end up like slacking off. And today, honestly, after I'd finished my hair, I was so tired. It took me like 2 hours to do my hair. So I put in this style because it lasts a little bit longer and it's a little bit easier to detangle later on. But anyway, it took me 2 hours to do that. So that was agony. And then I was like, oh my gosh, like there's no way I can like do work now. But honestly, after I've like gotten everything set up, I like am excited to use it. And so I'm like, okay, maybe I will do work. So right now what I have like they're kind of subplots. I've just kind of deepened some of the mystery that was already there and added some elements. And my issue is I don't know how many like words that's legitimately going to add, but I do think it's like a good layer of the story. And so originally I was going to try and add like 20,000 words. And now I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so unrealistic. So now I'm going to try and add 10,000 words just because I'm having difficulty figuring out what else to add onto the story, because I don't want to be adding like things that are completely irrelevant just because I want to bulk up this word count. Because there may be other things that bulk up the word count. Just me like finessing my prose might bulk up the word count. I also have to have the character arcs come out more clearly. I think in the couple, I think the main character, who is a woman, I think she's quite fleshed out and I think I've like got her down pat. It's just like I want to put in some more elegant lines and prose in there. But the guy, I feel like you're not getting to understand his side as much, and I'd like that to come through more. And I think I thought I would have to plan out that whole arc, but I honestly think I can just like get that done when I go and edit. So I'm just in the struggle about how I'm gonna bulk up this word count. And I don't just want to be adding things for the sake of adding things. So I think what I'm gonna do is I've gotten those plans for like essentially I have the plans for what the new layers I want to add. So I'm going to go through the chapters and I'm going to make note on where I would have to like insert things. And I want to try and see if I can add in like 5 new chapters, or even 6 really. 6 new chapters would be great because that would probably bulk me out to 50,000 words. I just like don't know if I have enough material to put into those chapters, and that's where I'm struggling. So I think what I'll do today, just so I can actually get something done today, is like those new plot points that I thought of, I'll go plug those into the chapter summaries just so I can know, okay, these are the things that are going to happen and these are kind of the chapters that are going to be extended and are going to become longer, and see what I can do there. But yeah, that's kind of where I'm gonna go today. But like in all honesty, I've been wildly unproductive. I've done very little between like Tuesday. I did a lot on Monday, and then I did very little on Tuesday, and then today I like totally planned to fully flake out, but now I'm actually gonna do shit. So we'll get shit done, and I will check back with you on Friday. And then on Friday you can also get an update on how the whole walking desk thing has been working. Open doors. It's me again, but in the evening when you never see me because the lighting is bad, so I purposely don't film at this time. But I had to update because on my Instagram I posted like a picture of my new desk setup, and I got like a question from June-Her, who is actually the author of The Forest of Stolen Girls, which you should definitely read if you love like mystery. Like, it's a historical mystery and it's so good. And like, I used to think I didn't like historical books until I started reading June's books, and then I was like, oh no, I do like historical. But anyway, tangent aside, she was like, is there like an easy way to switch to a chair setup if you want to sit? Because moving the treadmill would be like a lot of work. And I realized, yeah, it would be like a lot of work. And I hadn't really thought about it, but I changed my setup a little bit to accommodate this because it's like a good like thing to mention. And so I wanted to show you the changes quick. So this is the desk treadmill setup that you have seen. And now what has changed is this is the other side of the office now. So I used to have underneath here, I used to have 2 file cabinets. So like one bigger one and one smaller one. And I've taken them out from underneath, which is great because then I can fit Bobo's dog bed, but I can also fit the chair there now. And I moved the desk mat from under here where it frankly wasn't doing anything. It wasn't doing jack shit over there. So I moved it over here, which is my crafting area anyway. And I was honestly like, I kept messing up the white table like with my crafting stuff. So it's actually better now that I have this desk mat here because then it won't get messy. And then over here is where I move the file cabinet. So I used to have my bin of fabric over here, and I honestly realized, why am I keeping this in the office when we have a basement? Because I don't sew that often, and it's really like, if I wanted fabric, I could go downstairs to the basement, I could pick out the fabric I want, and I could bring it upstairs with me. I don't really need to have a storage bin in here just taking up space. And so it's nice because like it kind of creates an extension from the desk where I can kind of drop zone things, which like it's always kind of nice to have a bit of a drop zone. And then I moved the Lego typewriter. It was over here, frankly taking up shelf space. And so now I moved it over here. So now I have even more room for books. I do have a pack of Fresca over here. I just like didn't know where to put it. But now I have like a full free shelf for books. We still have access to the outlets that's there. And I kept the actual sewing cart here because it's just kind of, it's not easy to move around and it's better if I just have it here. But yeah, so that's like the adjustment I made. And I think this will be a really nice adjustment because then like when I'm doing arts and crafts things, I like really can't be standing and walking on the treadmill while I'm doing that. It's really more for like writing and like playing Sims and watching videos and that sort of thing. So it's nice to like have the chair here because then if I want to sketch something or paint or do anything like that, like it's really easy for me to sit down and just do that. Or if somebody wants to join me in my office, I'm forever trying to I'm like, when I'm doing stuff and my boyfriend's like, what are you doing? I'm like, you can like sit down here, but there's never actually a chair for him. So if you wanted to join me, now there's a chair here. So yeah, I think this is like a really good use of the space.
When you refuse to pick the lock, please don't walk away. When I light your cigarette, two steps and you're in my head. Chase me down with a chaser, throw me away without a thought. Ragged seasons never change.
It is Friday and things have changed. So, what day is it today? Oh my gosh, I just said what day it was. It's Friday. Sorry if I'm sweaty. This is like my constant state now because I'm doing the walking, standing desk thing. But also it's so hot in my house. And the combination is, it's a lot. So that's what produces this. Anyhow, things have changed because on Wednesday, my editor emailed me to say that she would be getting the Blood Like Magic sequel line edits to me by the end of the week. And so then I had a decision at that point. And the decision was, am I going to work on both the Newlyweds and my line edits? Or am I going to put aside the Newlyweds and just work on my line edits? And even though the productivity hoe in me was like, if we do both, we get 2 things done at the same time. And then I became very realistic with myself very fast, and I was like, absolutely not. And I know this because the last time I did line edits, when I did line edits for Blood Like Magic, it was the most painful editing for me, because it's such a nitpicky form of editing. It's supposed to be so that you can catch everything, right? But for me, doing them like that amount of nitpickiness is so like, it's not nice, and I don't enjoy doing it. And so I decided that I really needed to just be able to focus purely on these line edits, especially because this is like, I'm reading it through very carefully, and I'm wanting to see if there are any lines that I want to add that are kind of like, you know, like nice prose lines that I might want to get in there and things like that. And I want to be able to concentrate on that. And I knew that if I had to do my line edits and also edit another book, that I wasn't going to be able to focus properly on either. So I decided that it was the best decision for me to go ahead and just do my line edits. So that's what I'm doing. I have 36 chapters, and my editor got the notes to me on Thursday night, and so I decided to start today, which is Friday. I know it's sort of strange to start because I take weekends off to start and then just like take the weekend off right away, but I decided that this was for the best, because what this means is I have 36 chapters, so I'm going to be doing 6 chapters a day. So 3 chapters I'll work on in the morning, I'll take a break, and then the other 3 chapters I'll do in the afternoon. And so that means I need 6 days. So if I start today on Friday, then next week, by the end of the week, I'll be done. And then that way I can start the week after that, I can do my Newlywed edits, and I can compact that into a 5-day work week. And I just like the way that breaks up, like calendar wise. And so that's why I would prefer to do it that way, and why I have it planned out that way. So that's what I'm going to be doing. So I have now shifted focus for this vlog. I feel like I have maybe not so many, but I feel like I have a good chunk of vlogs in the past where I've started working on a project and then it's been like, oh, no edits came in, so I have to shift working on a project. And my editor also let me know that she's going to be working on the Butcher Birds edits late September, early October. So I also have those coming up, but I've checked my schedule and I feel confident that I can finish the edit of the Newlyweds before that comes in. So then at least I have like it out with beta readers by the time that happens, and then maybe I can start working on like actually making like full-on strides with the Blood Like Magic spin-off proposal, because I haven't really plotted anything. I've been doing a lot of like brainstorming and research. I still have some books that I have to read for additional research, so that's going to take me some time as well, but I think I still have time to do those things in between this Blood Like Magic sequel edit and like the Butcher Birds edits that are coming up. So yeah, that'll be happening. And I had that, this isn't like a secret, I just like haven't really gotten around to announcing it, but the Blood Like Magic sequel will be coming out August 9th, 2022, and then Butcher Birds will be coming out in the spring of 2023. So that's why these 2 edits are so much closer together than the edits for like Blood Like Magic and the sequel, because those 2 books are technically farther apart in time than the 2022 and 2033 books will be. I don't think you were wondering, but like just in case to explain why, like those edits are happening so much closer together. But that's been the benefit of me having written the entirety of Butcherbirds and selling it as a full novel, is that it's done. So now we're just getting straight into the editing portion of it. It's not like a contract book where I had to take the time to write it as well. So that's the plan. That's Friday. I've already done, whatchamacallit? I've done 3 chapters for the morning. It's 11, so I'm going to take my break and then I'll get back to it. And I was actually going to check, in case people are interested in steps, I've had the writing desk since like Wednesday, but I've only actually like gotten around to tracking my steps today. So I just looked at it for the first time. I hadn't seen this either. So this morning I started at 9, so 10 and 11, so like 2 hours ish of just like being at the walking desk. So it says I did 8,790 steps. So if you were curious about how much walking you might do like in a work period at the standing or the walking desk, that's how much. That's a lot. Wow. I on a normal day where I just like went about my normal routine, I would definitely do like maybe 400 steps. So this is already working out great. And I'll check back in with you on Monday.
City lights tell all. Stuck in a taxi cab. Promises ring true.
Happy Monday. I have been steadily working on my line edits, and by steadily I mean I worked on Friday and now I'm also working on Monday. So I'm up to chapter 10. I'm gonna go to chapter 12 for the day. So I'm doing 6 chapters each day. So I do 3 in the morning and 3 in the afternoon. Yeah, so I've been doing that, and my biggest challenge with this sequel has been just like expectations, and like trying to pull myself out of the mindset of being too caught up in reader expectations. And I think part of this, like a big part of this for me is, and I talked about this in a previous video, how my biggest challenge in being a published author has been like, you know, like getting tagged in negative reviews and having to like accidentally see the nitty-gritty of what people don't really like about the book, about the first book, Blood Like Magic. And I think that's carried over into like my challenges with the second book, is that I feel like I keep getting caught up in negative critiques I've seen and like thinking, oh, well, what am I going to do about that? And like, what am I going to do about this? And like a critique that came up, you know, with fair amount of frequency was like slow to start. The book is slow to start. And so now I've been like consumed with the idea of like, oh my gosh, is this too slow in the beginning? And like, is this too slow? And is this not doing this fast enough? And I was talking with another author too about like that critique of like, your book is slow to start. And I've just come to a point, I had to like come to a point for me where I was like, is that a bad thing? Because, you know, my brain is fixating on the negative critiques, but, you know, I've also gotten so many positive critiques of the book and people really enjoying the book. And so I'm like, so clearly a bunch of people are fine with the pacing, but it's not working for some people. And then I had to internally tell myself, I'm like, well, what do you think about it? And to me, when I write books, my setup is very important. I want to make sure that the reader has an accurate picture of the person, the character's life, and like what they're going through, so that when the stakes hit, the stakes really hit, because you're aware of everything that's going to be affected in this character's life by this inciting incident. And sometimes that takes time. Sometimes I have to take time to set that up. And so as I was reading through the sequel, I was like, oh my gosh, is this too slow? But I was also like, but also, is all of this necessary? Like, do you feel as the writer that this setup is necessary for the story? And the answer was yes. And so I've had to like, that's been something I've been working through in this process so far, is like balancing, like, and this is also why I think like a lot of authors don't look at reviews, because like for as many people that will say this was like too slow in the beginning and I couldn't get into it, there's like as many people that will be saying, oh, I really love this, and like I didn't really mind that this was the setup, or I didn't find that it was slow, or things like that. And I find it's really easy, and that's been my biggest challenge as an author, to like internalize all these critiques and things like that. And at the end of the day, I have to continuously remind myself, like, this is your book, and what do you think is making this book good? And I think, of course, you always think about your audience when you're writing, and like what you would like them to enjoy and things like that. But I also have to make sure that I'm not changing the way I write in a way that feels untrue to my storytelling, just because I'm fixated on what I've heard some people say. And that's kind of been a challenge for me. But I'm coming to it, and I'm reading through these pages as I'm doing my line edit, and I'm really picking apart what I find is necessary and what is not, and focusing on that versus like focusing on like a small sampling of small arbitrary sampling of like what I think is like people are going to critique me on or not. Yeah, and I think it's the difference between, you know, if you happen to hear a critique and you agree with it and you're like, oh, I would actually, you know, I agree with that, and that's something I'd like to improve upon in my writing, and hearing a critique that you don't really agree with, but you feel like you should do it because that's what you've heard. And I think it's teasing those two things apart. For me, that has been like a big part of me going into this sequel. And writing book 2, because people are like, how is it writing book 2? Because you hear about how hard it is. For me, the writing itself was fine, and the editing was fine, and the book only became challenging once I started overly thinking about like reactions to the book. So that's how I am going through this, but I think things are going well. I'm really like pleased with how everything is unfolding, and I'm happy, and I'm just trying to like get in lines that are like, you know, I think are really good lines, and like also making sure I pull them out and put them in a separate document, so that later on, if I want to like promote the book and like use little quotes and stuff, I have this bank of quotes already set up. I don't have to try and scramble through the book and find them a separate time. So I'm doing that while I'm doing the line edits, and yeah, I'm just working through it now, and I'm feeling better. I feel better each day that I read through it. I really only, my worst times of like being stressed about the book is when I'm not reading the book. And then I start reading the book and I'm like, oh yeah, no, this is great. And then I feel better. And my editor also had said, had wonderful things to say about the book. She thinks it could be better than the first book even. And she's really happy with it. And so that's been really great as well. So I'm excited to keep going on it. And I will catch up with you on Wednesday.
Melody, I just need to find my way. So when I fall behind, just give me one more day.
I want to talk about the feeling that I can't even remember where this advice came from, or it's not even advice, it's just a statement, which is like, if you're bored with your book, readers will be bored with your book, which I think is legitimate at certain stages, but I feel like sometimes it's used all the time. Like if you ever get bored of your book at any point, that it's not gonna work for readers. And I'm just like, I don't describe to that, because I'm doing line edits. I'm reading this book for the however many time, and I'm like, I'm tired of reading it. I'm not bored per se, but I'm tired of reading it. I'm tired. It's a long ass book, which is my own fault. But yeah, I think that's natural, and so that's what I'm telling you. If you are reading your book for like, you know, 6th, 7th time, and you're like, wow, I'm tired of reading this, I'm with you. I think you can still have a great book. And that's how I feel about mine. I'm like, I still think this is a good book, but man, I'm tired of reading this. But it's just because I'm trying to be very detailed and very meticulous with this line edit, so that when copy edits come, I don't have to be super meticulous, and I can just be like, yay, the copy editor is looking at everything, and just kind of, you know, make a quick pass of it. Because yeah, I'm real tired, and I know that when past pages come, past pages will be where I'm once again meticulously reading through just in case, so you know, I don't need to do it 2 times in a row. So that's how I'm feeling today. Sorry if I like always look sweaty now. It's really hot, and then I am using the walking desk now, so I'm frequently sweating. So that's just kind of like, this look is my look. But that's how writing is going. It's going well. I'm at chapter 24 of 36. So I've got 2 days left, Thursday and Friday, which I did plan out, so that makes sense. And yeah, so it's going well, and I'm pleased with the progress. I think I've officially like moved on from the feeling of, oh my god, what if people don't like it? What if it's not as good? And things like that. Like, I feel pretty solid. I'm like, no, this is a solid book. And I'm happy with it. So I've freed myself from that feeling, and I'm just yeah, moving on with things. I have an event tomorrow on Instagram Live with Simon Teen, because my book was the Simon Teen Book Club of the month, Blood Like Magic, and so we're going to be chatting about that. So I have that tomorrow. And yesterday I did an interview with a literary magazine, with Friction Literary Magazine. If it's up by the time this video goes up, I'll link it below, and that was great. And so yeah, the only thing that now when I do Zoom things, I'm like standing, and I'm unused to the standing decks. It's very interesting because to me it's actually easier to walk than it is to stand. And so whenever I'm standing, I'm like shifting in place because I'm not used to just like standing stationary. So that's been an interesting process. But right now, I think I want to try and get some reading done, whether that's an audiobook or whatnot. I was reading an audiobook, and I just like, I can't get into it. I just can't make myself get into this book. I don't know what it is. And so I'm just gonna move on from it and start a different audiobook. I'm gonna try and see if I can get one of the August releases, because I am trying to catch up on my new releases. I got Bad Witch Burning in the mail earlier by Jessica Lewis, and I want to start that. I'm going to start that probably in the evening, do my like before bed reading, but I want to start an audiobook because I figure I'm going to play The Sims, and then at least I can like listen to an audiobook when I play and like start getting caught up. But I just have to pick a different one, because this audiobook I'm listening to, like, I've been avoiding for several days because I can't get into it, and I think it's just because it's high fantasy. I have I really sometimes have a difficult time like getting myself into a high fantasy book. I'm really more of an urban contemporary fantasy girl, and so sometimes I have difficulty with that. Yeah, I don't know, it's just a thing. So I think I just need to move on from that, and I need to like listen to something snappier. So I think I'm gonna listen to a thriller. I know what is the book called? How We Fall Apart by Katie Zhao. I believe that's the title of it. I wanted to read that one, and so that's like a thriller, so that could be fun to read on audio and also be fast, and then I can feel accomplished because I'll have finished something. So I think I'm gonna do that. And then read Bad Witch Burning in the evening, and then like try and get caught up on my August reads because I'm so behind on my new releases reads and I really want to get caught up. So that's my goal for the rest of this week.
To regret the word I could never say. I'm drowning with the past, ocean of yesterday. Obsessed with time, no clue what's at stake. In the final round of a lifelong game, so I step out of bounds. I don't want things to change.
Welcome to the end of the vlog. I finished my line edits, so those are done. Thank God. You know what? It wasn't bad until Thursday and Friday, because towards the end of my books is when I'm having to wrap all these things up, and we're doing all these final like action type scenes and everything's coming together. And that was like where I had the most comments that were like, it's like comments. This is why I don't like line edits, because it's like a comment on like one line or like 2 lines. Like, well, how is this working? And then suddenly I have to go back. I have to fix so many things. I have to write pages into a scene. I have to shift all these little things. I have to go back and like do all this fixing from like a single line. And that's why I hate line edits, because it's so frustrating. And it is all very necessary, all needed for the book. And my editor always asks wonderful questions, and the things that she picks up on are things that I know that a reader would be like, but why isn't this, you know what I mean? It's the same question a reader would ask. And so it's, you know, it's so needed that she does that. And I'm happy that she picks up on all of those things and she's not just like letting things slide. But when I'm sitting down to do that work, I'm like, oh my God, can you please just let this slide? Because it's so frustrating to fix it. To me, it's very different than like a developmental edit where you get these like, you know, I'll get a chunk of like 5 things in the book that like, oh, this has to be fixed. And then I can say, okay, and then I sit down, I like plan out how I'm going to fix it. I look at my chapter summary. I like do my thing about how I'm going to fix it. And then I go and I implement it. Somehow that just like feels completely different. But when I'm like, I've already done all that and I'm going through and it's just like one line where it's like, but what about this? And then suddenly my brain breaks because I'm like, oh, wonderful. It's like a gigantic plot hole. and then I freak out and I'm like, how am I gonna fix this? And I always think of how to fix it, so like I need to calm down. And then I'm like, oh, now I gotta go back here, I gotta do all this stuff. And so a lot of that happened on Thursday and Friday, and some of them were like really, for me, like when I read it, it was a really difficult fix because it wasn't even something I had thought of. And then suddenly I had to be like, oh my god, do I have to change the entire book? And then of course in neither case did I ever have to change the entire book. But it was just like difficult. On Thursday I almost like rage quit for the day. Like on Thursday I was just like, I can't. And like I like pushed away from the computer and I was like, I can't do anything today. I can't do anything. But then I was like, no, you have a timeline that you need to get this done for. And I am early for my deadline because I wanted to finish this week so that next week I can move on to other projects. But I did want to keep my deadline, so I did not rage quit and I continued. But yeah, I just find that line edits are just the most frustrating part of the process. It is the most upsetting part of the process, and it's very nitpicky, and I become overly aware of my sentence patterns and the way that I construct sentences, and then I start to get really self-conscious about my writing. But because you have to get rid of words like that are repeating a lot and things like that, so you have to get rid of those. You have to get rid of phrases that you are using too much, and when a phrase that you're using too much is pointed out all the time, then you start to be like, oh my god, am I doing this everywhere? Is this how I write? Am I terrible at this? And it's not. It's just your attention is being drawn to all the times that you do it, so that it's impossible not to notice. For fun, words I love to use over and over again. Just is a big one. I know that's one for a lot of people. Little, weirdly, I love to call everything little. I love to be like, he let out a little laugh, or she turned a little, or she squinted her eyes a little, or she did this a little. Like, for whatever reason, I love using that word, so that had to be like, I had to really tamper that. And then also let out a, I love to do that. He let out a laugh, he let out a sigh, she let out a little giggle. That's the combination. Instead of just saying like she laughed or she giggled or things like that, so I had to change a few of those. And my editor actually doesn't point out all of those, which I think is like important to note, because I think there are some craft people that are like, you can never use just anywhere, but there are sometimes you have to use the word just. And interestingly enough, my editor has inserted the word just in certain places. So sometimes you just have to use it, and it's not like my editor highlighted all of them. It's just places where she was like, this is being used too much in this paragraph, or this is being used too much close to this page, and things like that. So that was also fixed. And I think fixing like those sorts of things is just like annoying to me in general. And so I think when you combine that plus the little nitpicky fixes, oh my gosh, recipe for disaster. And last year I hated line edits. This year I thought I was gonna be okay until Thursday today. Then I was like, no, I don't like it. I continue to not like it. So yeah, but anyway, that's done, and I'm happy about that. And when your line edits are accepted, you get paid again, which is also nice. And that's really it. I ended the novel, and I always get so self-conscious about the Blood Like Magic sequel, and then when I finish reading it, I'm always like, no, this is great. And that's exactly how I feel. Oh my gosh, there's one scene. People ask me a lot, they're like, what's your favorite scene in Blood Like Magic? And it always changes, just kind of depending on how I'm feeling. But I almost said the title. I actually don't think anyone cares if I say the title, but like I want to have the cover and the title and the release date all like released at once, even though I told you guys the release date in the video still. But yeah, the sequel, there's one scene and it's always my favorite scene. It's always my favorite scene. And I talked about it in like a vlog way back, I think when I was actually drafting. And it's just my favorite. It's just like a scene that's very much like that Black Panther moment where Killmonger is like in Wakanda, and he's at like their little council there, and he's like, ask me my name, and nobody wants to ask him his name. And then one of the characters finally is like, what's your name? And then he like rattles off all of this stuff and it like stirs off the entire place, and it's just like such a moment. It's Daniel Kaluuya's character, but I can't remember what his character's name that asked him, but anyway, and that's very much a moment that's in the book, and it's always my favorite moment, and I think it will always be my favorite scene in the book, because every time I read it I'm like so. But anyway, I have rambled on enough. But that's it for line edits. I don't know when copy edits are going to be, but I am going to get edits on Butcher Birds, which is my 2023 novel, sometime in September or October. So you'll get to see vlogs of me working on that. And then next week I'm going to start back working on my adult horror, the Newlyweds. Excuse me, sorry. So I'm gonna start working on that. So yeah, that's what you can look forward to. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed already, please subscribe. Thank you so much for watching. I post weekly on Tuesdays, and goodbye.
Stuck in the